Good evening. It's Deborah Terry Stevens, and I am here with the fabulous, the wonderful, the gifted, the talented, the fierce woman that she is. Y'all know who she is, my friend, my sister, my girl, Mercedes L. Miller. How you doing
Right
today,
back
Mercedes?
at you. Right back at you. I've been looking forward to talking with
Whew,
you all day long.
not all day.
All day, really, because sometimes you go throughout the course of your day and I do what I call touch points or things that give me joy that I can look forward to. And so when I know we're
Hmm.
scheduled to have a conversation, it gives me something to look forward to, especially sister girl time where you can be honest, you can be open, you can be candid. So yes, all day long.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so it wasn't just me. It was mutual. I love it. I love it. And as I've shared with you before, it always just brings me peace to just sit and talk because my life, like yours, I'm sure, is just extremely busy, going from here, there, just bouncing around, doing so many things. But in this moment, I just get to be and just talk, be fed, and feed, hopefully. And it's wonderful. So I too have been looking forward to this all day. So I got some conversation. Can we talk? Can we talk?
Yes, what you want to talk about tonight?
So we had the interview. We saw the interview with Prince Harry and Duchess Meghan. And some people were, I guess, shocked that they revealed that they or she has experienced racism. Um, I don't think that was a shocker. Maybe they're shocked that she actually came out and shared that. I'm not so sure. Um, but I mean, there are so many things that we have to deal with, and I'm just wondering your thoughts on principles that we can employ, not just dealing with racism, but there's so many other isms that we have to deal with, sexism, ageism. And so talk to me about some things that we can do.
Right. So first, let me say that there are two sides, well, there are multiple sides of this spectrum.
Okay.
But I think first, we often look at other people and say what they should not, what they cannot,
Mhm.
and what we would have done in a similar situation. Typically, 99.99999% of the time with mindset management and manifesting with Mercedes, I say focus on you. I say you. And I have to be completely honest and transparent. I had to check me with this whole situation. Because
Mhm.
I'm the girl who, however many years ago, what was it, 3 years, 4 years ago, when they announced their engagement and then they were married, I was like super excited just because I love love, right? And when
Right.
you love love and you see people who overcome obstacles, who are the people who you typically wouldn't put together and they make it work and they make it work in love and with love and for love, right? I was as excited as a person who's not connected to him or her can be.
Mhm.
So when the whole they're leaving the royal family thing came out, I was like, wait, what now? We was rooting for you, girl. I mean, sister girl, we was the ones like, right? And so I was like, what's she doing? So then right before the Oprah interview, even before we knew about it, I text a girlfriend of mine, and I said, I'm really disappointed in Meghan because this is not just about public appearances. This is about family. This is about
Mhm.
legacy. And even if he wanted to leave the family, she got that power, right? She could have talked and cajoled and convinced him, let's make this work. So that's a point for all of us to say, and we know this, right? But sometimes we're not intentional with our thinking. We know that we don't know the inner workings of what's going on with people, their families, their
Mhm.
relationships, and their responsibilities. But still, on the outside looking in, we often put what we think and what we expect on it. And sometimes We are totally out of line. And I was totally out of line. So my sister texted me the night that it came on, right? And so I said, thank you so much, because I forgot. I was somewhere reading or something. So I found the channel it was on, the big fanfare. Oprah did the introduction, and then Meghan was sitting there by herself and she was talking. Now, listen, I don't just speak for a living. I don't just connect with people to help them with their thoughts and words. I actually study thoughts and words. I actually study verbal and nonverbal communication. And if you Google, right, what it means when somebody keeps touching their nose when they're talking.
Well, profiler.
I ain't gonna tell you what a text, but I said, my thought was, what is in alignment with when somebody keeps touching their nose? And that is either that they're not telling the truth or they're uncomfortable. Child, I fell asleep. Fell asleep, woke up the next day, and I said, you know what? I'm going to watch this interview and I'm going to watch it in its entirety. About 10 minutes in, I text my sister and I text my girlfriend in South Carolina, and I said, I was wrong. I take it back. And oftentimes on this side of the fence, on this side of the pond, right, we are infusing our thoughts, our feelings, and our opinions because we don't have the entire story. So first and foremost, we've got to check ourselves and just let people be. And even though we're not saying what color is the baby's skin going to be, even though we're not saying the different things that she had to experience, if in any measure of communication to yourself or to somebody else, you said a modicum of what I said, you were wrong, right? We were wrong. And that's part of what mindset management is all about. You and I talked about this before. It's about this whole notion of judgment. And judgment is not always condemnation, right? Judgment is not always damnation. Sometimes judgment simply is, well, why she do this? Or why he do that? And we have to realize that people have a choice about the who, what, when, where, how of their lives, and you have no clue. And even though they pulled the veil off and gave us a glimpse, we still don't know the depth and breadth of what that girl and that man, or that woman and that man, and now the little baby who has no clue, has had to contend with. And so that's the first faction of the spectrum for me. Yeah.
I love it. I love it, because we are quick to give our opinions.
Yes.
And like you said, not having all of the information. If it was me, well, why did she? I don't know what, and not having a clue whatsoever to walk in those shoes.
Right.
Live in those shoes, not just walk in them, live in them. I can't take these shoes off.
Right. Exactly.
I got.
And I was watching an interview with Michelle Obama, and she was asked the question, the whole notion about her experience in race and racism. And Michelle Obama said something that was completely true. She was like, listen, racism isn't a new construct. The fact that it has been cast upon somebody who we didn't think, these aren't her words, these are my words, but the fact that it was cast upon somebody who we didn't think or expect, dealt with it to such severity, and now they talk about it openly. That is what the difference is. So the question now becomes, what do you do with this information? Whether you are in support of the royal family or whether you are in support of her, what do you do with this information? So bring it to this side of the pond, right? If we bring it to this side of the pond, if you're in corporate America and you are a Black woman who's sitting at the table, and by and large, the higher up you go, the fewer of us it is at the table, if we're at the table at all. If you bring it to this side of the pond, then what do you do with that same information when we experience it every day of the week in corporate America? Take Absolutely. It to the university, and here's what, whether it is an HBCU, can we just tell the truth? Whether it's an HBCU, because we still deal with colorism, which is, it's foreign to me, because as little girls, my sisters said they did experience this. I don't remember colorism as a little girl. I don't remember our parents showing favoritism. I don't remember our grandparents. But whether you're at a HBCU or whether you are at a PWI, when we experience and deal with this even at the table now, it's in, and I'm gonna let you step in and ask your question, but it's still a part of the pander and the joking. You've been on sets in Hollywood, right? You've been on sets
right.
for filming and entertainment. It's a part of the culture, and they joke about it. And to me, it's not funny. To me, to make jokes about light and dark, how is it different? So I know there's a difference, Deborah, right? I know there's a keen difference when the Black people versus the white people do it to the Black person or to the person of color. But when you go to the house, the dagger in your heart is the same.
Come on. The heart doesn't know the difference.
The heart doesn't know the difference. When you have to go back into the setting, the pain of the knife, the blade in your back, it's still the same. And if we just tell the truth, right, since we're talking about colorism, we need to make sure that, and I'm talking to Black women right now. Okay, so if that's all right with you.
Absolutely, you're fine.
Right, so what I want us to make sure of is that the very thing, and granted there is a difference, but what I want to make sure of is that the very thing that we want other people to do concerning us, that we can do concerning each other.
Absolutely, yes.
I know, if I just speak for me and the circles I run in, I know enough Black women, female executive decision makers who are responsible for the budgets with 2 commas, that if they brought other women to the table who are Black, some of the problems and issues we have, they would be like at least reduced some. When you have Black women who are solopreneurs and entrepreneurs, the ones who are in corporate, or the ones who are at the university, or the ones who are you get the point, in government, who have control over budgets with 2 commas. Are you with me? I'm talking
yes, ma'am.
They oversee multi-million dollar budgets. The same way we want somebody to bring us to the table and look out for us, we've got to intentionally do it for ourselves. And I often hear people say, well, I'm not going to hire her just because she's Black. Why? She got 2 degrees and 25 years of experience, and she Black. So yes, I'm going to contract her. I'm going to hire her. I'm going to refer her.
Absolutely.
That's the business and community world. So then how about little baby Archie? They talking about how dark is his skin gonna be? Don't y'all act like y'all didn't look at the earlobes
and the cuticles. Come on.
Don't play with me like y'all didn't look around the cuticle to see how dark that baby was gonna be.
Listen. Yes.
So I think what we have to do is to be more mindful and to be more intentional. A lot of what we do is driven by what's embedded in our subconscious. And until we make an intentional, this is what being intentional is all about, until we make an intentional decision to be conscious about how we speak to each other, what we think about each other, how we interact with each other, good, bad, or indifferent, we'll experience it what she experienced on this side of the pond and on the other side of the pond.
You're absolutely right. I'm telling you, you said so much and so many images. I'm like in a flashback of things that I experienced, even within my own family with the siblings. I was the lighter skinned one. And one of my brothers had an issue with that, and he teased me my whole life. That's at home. And
Right.
I got to go out into the world where whether I'm a light skinned black or a dark skinned black, to them, I'm just black.
Right.
And then have to deal with all that stuff and not, getting the promotions and things, although I'm the smartest one in here and the more skilled one in here, and but then when we are in position, like you said, when we are in position to bring other folk to the table, to get other folk hired, to get more numbers, why aren't we doing that? Are we scared it's going to mess up our position? Are we not that secure in our positions, or are we okay with just being one of a few or the only one in that position? And so we're supposed to be our brother and sister's keeper, and I'm just looking out for me. Every man for himself and God for us all,
Right. I think from my experience and the conversations that I have had, there is some of what you just described going on, but I think mostly people are working to protect themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They fear that if I bring you to the table and you show your behind, then both of us in trouble. If
I
I
love
bring you
that.
to the table and you don't live up to what I know you can live up to, then it ruins both of our reputation. And I tell you what, Cheryl Underwood, your sister girl in comedy, she was a master this week, right? At peace, right? So y'all can call it emotional control if you want to. But this week, she displayed a masterful depiction of peace. And she said something when she was interviewed afterward. She said, "We are the only race of people who shows up as a representative of the entire rest of the race. If we show our behinds one time, then all Black women don't know how to act. If we lose
Emotional.
it one time, then all Black women are the angry Black woman." And while it is not the truth, we are not solely the representation of millions upon millions upon millions of women. We have to make sure that when we have the seat at the table, regardless of what they think, regardless of how they interpret it, regardless of the who, what, when, where, and how things might have a ripple effect, that we position ourselves in a manner that if I bring you in, even if you end up 90, 85, or 75% of what I told you them that they were, I have performed to the best of my ability and it does not impact me, right? Even if I go out into the community and I bring 5 other Black women with me and we're going to form a team and we're going to do whatsoever it is that we desire to accomplish in this goal. If 2 of the 5 of us don't do what we say we're going to do, we don't illuminate and highlight who, what, when, and how they did everything wrong. We're going to keep the focus on the 3 of us who are strong. We're going to keep the focus on the 3 of us who are pulling the weight. So oftentimes, even as we work in conjunction and collaboration with each other, everybody's not perfect. Everybody is not always who they say they are, but we don't have to keep that on Front Street, right? What we need to do is learn how to adjust, get back in the road, and keep moving full speed ahead down the road so that we can get to the destination, instead of allowing a conversation at every stop sign to keep us from reaching the goal and hinder the perception of who we are and how we exist in both business and in community.
Yeah, there's definitely a lack of accountability, because I guess, and even I'm where I'm working now, I feel like I'm the old mother.
Mhm.
I'm trying to make sure that my people are good. I'm being totally transparent. I'm trying to make sure my people are good.
Right.
Doing your job. Okay, so I heard through the rumor mill XYZ. Make sure you tighten up on blah 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 blah. You know, tell you your slip is hanging or whatever. Just to hem you up on what is being said so that you can tighten up, or tell me if I'm doing something wrong, if you've heard something. So we are accountable to each other, so we all look good. And we've got to do better. And then there's sometimes, it's just, I guess, a bad apple. I don't know. You want to save everybody. I want to. God knows I do. God knows I do. But yeah, just trying to deal with that and employ principles like you, Cheryl Underwood, peace. Oh my gosh. And she probably would have been justified in going off.
I think she would have been justified, but the reason I say she was the example of peace,
Mm-hmm.
there's a saying by Gandhi. He said, the most peaceful man can meditate in the marketplace. And we're not talking about the marketplace like South Park Mall, or the marketplace, right? Like,
In business.
uh, like, yeah, like Fifth Avenue in New York. We're talking about the marketplace like if you were in an Islamic country, or you were in a country where everything's going on in the marketplace and there's just tons of hustle and bustle. But regardless of what's going on around you, you make choices of peace. And so when I said she was a perfect display of peace, to be able to have spoken your piece and have somebody attack you because of somebody else, have somebody come toward you and tell you how to behave and how not to behave, to have somebody tell you don't you to cheer up. I ain't see a tear nowhere in Cheryl Underwood's eyes. Do you hear me? But the point is, if she were not mindful outside of that space, she would not have been able to keep herself composed inside of that space. And so, back to your original question of how do we make sure that when we're dealing with racism or ageism or any kind of schisms, dealing with being a female and either in a predominantly male workplace, or being a Black woman in a predominantly white workplace.
Mm-hmm.
How do you deal with all of that? The truth is, you deal with it before the ish happens, right?
Right.
You deal with it before the pot boils. You deal with it before you are thrown into the fire. You've got to be cultivating a mindset of peace and emotional control. You don't practice when you get there, you practice before you're there, so that when you show up, so you're gonna make me so when you talk about mindset management and manifesting, I always tell people there's the spiritual side and there is the scientific side. And in the base of the spine, there is where the spine meets the brain, there is what is called the reticular activation system. And so what happens is, in times of chaos, in times of emergency, what pushes up through that spine and through that reticular activation system and to your brain and causes you to act, or words to come out of your mouth, what's going to come out is what is being constantly planted and reinforced. So if you've constantly been planting peace, then you're able to respond in peace. If you've constantly been practicing emotional control and teaching your heart, teaching your mind, teaching your spirit how to respond versus react, then that's what's going to come up and out when you get in a situation like that. Yes, we're going to deal with racism. Yes, we're going to deal with colorism. Yes, we're going to deal with ageism and every other kind of ism. the question becomes, have you cultivated the skill set that allows you to maintain the core of who you are, the essence of who you are in the midst of that tumultuous situation? If you have not, then what's going to come out is cussing and ridicule and whatsoever. If you have, then typically what is going to come out is you being able to make sound decisions and choose specific words that help you maintain the integrity of who you are.
Absolutely. I am so careful even drafting an email.
Yes.
Because people will read so much into it because that's what they want to think about you.
Yes.
Perfect example, I've accepted some new responsibilities, and the person who trained me, and I use that term loosely, and passed the baton, really didn't. And the standard operating procedures that they drafted was like you typing me a letter. It was just so not the format but okay. Deborah Terry Stevens, you are smart. Let me sit down and get out what I need, draft up my own standard operating procedures and steps and everything. And so the person that we both report to shares that things are changing and I'm going to get this to you and get that to you. But in the interim, I'm still expected to produce, although I don't have all the information. And the information is constantly changing and you still haven't gotten back to me. So I had to draft an email just for my sanity and to be on record. I understand that the process is evolving. It's evolving, not you keep changing it is what I'm thinking, but it's evolving. Could you help me wrap my mind around the process and what that looks like? I could really use your help. Oh my gosh, I've been invited into the big office and we talking and everything. And I was like, that girl good. That girl good. But just, not to be antagonistic or accusatory or to tell you what you ain't done again.
Mm-hmm.
To sit down and get some clarity, understanding, but then also to help me do my job.
Right.
I'm doing, although you still haven't given me what I needed, but I got a little bit more in this meeting. And so, just having to be so careful because one email can be read the wrong way. And again, you're the angry Black woman. You're so emotional. You're not professional or whatever. So we are evolving. We are evolving. So that's good stuff. That's good stuff.
Yeah. And I do want to add that I don't think we need to walk around on eggshells. I think we just need to be mindful and intentional. Like you said with your email. I don't think we need to walk around with masks on.
Right.
But I do think, and I'm going to say it again, we need to be mindful and intentional because I was actually talking to someone, a client of mine. It was last week or week before one, and the email that they sent was exactly like what you just said. I mean, they know 15-letter words as well, so they know how to couch it and make it sound like how it's supposed to sound. But the truth is, if you got to the core of it, right, it could have been rewritten. So in the midst of us correcting people, standing for what we will and will not deal with, we have to make sure that we protect ourselves. And protect ourselves means that we ensure that we have a job as long as we want the job. We ensure that we have the contract as long as we want the contract. And we don't want how we respond to be less than exemplary, again, of the integral part of who we are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. That's awesome. That's awesome. Girl, you bring me joy. I'm telling you.
Go on, sing one time.
Say what?
Say, go on, sing one time.
Oh, you want me to hit it? My voice is a little cracky today. Cracky. I don't know if that's even a word. Oh, this has been wonderful as always. I was gonna jump in. I'm going to ask you about the whole Kirk Franklin situation, but we may save that for another time.
Okay.
And not so much, to um, talk about language and things like that, but just kind of, how we're dealing with our children and just different situations. But we can deal with that another time.
Okay.
This has been
Let's
wonderful.
talk soon, because I got two things I think it's going to shock you about what I think about the whole Kirk Franklin situation and how we deal with our children.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And I love you. You are awesome, Mercedes.
Love you too. Thank you for chatting with me.
Thank you for chatting with me. Yay.